This is Media Philosophy, exploring the deeper side of South Park, the emotional side of South Park, and that's what South Park does better than almost any other animated adult comedy out there. Maybe the only competitor would be Rick and Morty, but I would say South Park, in terms of emotion, does outshine Rick and Morty. And what I mean by that is, while South Park is full of jokes that run the gamut from clever to disgusting to racist to whatever, the one thing that they can also pull off besides humor is these heartfelt moments that actually sometimes pull at your heartstrings. There are tons of moments throughout South Park that you can point to where there is like a genuine emotional connection that is made, and it's probably because South Park is so funny that it almost emotionally primes the viewer for those drop downs. Because, just like a roller coaster, you can't just keep going up, 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 up. Eventually you need to go down. And that's what South Park really understands over shows like Family Guy, or even just any other adult animated cartoon that's not anime. Probably one of the best examples that I can think of at this moment is the Imagination Land episode at the end of part 2, where after Stan gets sucked into the portal to Imagination Land, Kyle gets injured somehow in the secret base, and Cartman resuscitates him, revives him, and I just don't think there was any music, and you just hear like Cartman be like, come on, damn it, come on. And again, it's just like this really interesting combination of sweet and silly, because the only reason Cartman wants to revive Kyle is so Kyle can make good on his bet, but it doesn't matter because like at that moment you really do feel that feeling. And then I don't think this is a good example is the episode where Kenny does die, because that one is so ridiculous. The one where Kenny dies, the one where he actually dies, the one where it's like 14 minutes without a single joke, basically, where they use fetuses, basically, to rebuild things, that episode. But that episode was, like, meant to be sad. The thing that makes South Park so special, among so many things, though, is that they're not afraid to balance the story out. I mean, they basically highlighted this during the Cartoon Wars episode, highlighting it against Family Guy, where these characters are responding to what happens in the story, and regardless how ridiculous what is happening on screen, it is real to the characters. The world that the boys, that Stan, Kyle, Kenny, Cartman inhabit, is real to them, and even though it is crazy to us, again, the things that they find dear, is what they find dear. Kind of like that whole Whalesiac episode, I would say, kind of has that sort of feeling where you can have these really cute boys, and that's, I think, one of the beauty of South Park is they can basically tell whatever stories they want to tell. If they want to go super crude, crass, gross, they have that availability. The tale of Scrody McBoogerballs, that one episode where they go to the amusement park that's full of pee. If they want to be gross, they can be the gross. The whole no internet overlogging episode where Randy's covered in ectoplasm. Again, they can really get away with some really funny, gross stuff. But then if that's exclusively what you did, it's gonna get boring fast. If you add episodes like The Poor Kid, the episode where Kenny or Mysterion is protecting his little sister Karen, it's so cute. Oh, that's where I was going with that previous point. They can tell so many different stories. They can go crass. They can do like cute kids episodes where like the boys are just being like dumb boys, like the episode with Margarine, where they're trying to get the future telling device. I wouldn't say that's like the emotional side that I'm talking about, but that's like a cute episode where, again, schoolboys are just being schoolboys opposed to the grossness. And then you have some very select episodes or a handful of moments that are just so soft and sweet, like the episode with The Poor Kid, where Kenny and Karen get sent over to that agnostic house, and a whole new school district. Cartman comes over because he no longer wants to be the poor kid at the school. And this, but the point is, like, there's those times where Kenny and Mysterion would protect Karen, and it is just so sweet to see how much Kenny loves and cares for Karen. It's refreshing, and you're never gonna see that in a show like Family Guy, or you do see it more in Rick and Morty, but I don't know, it seems like they're just trying to blow your mind in Rick and Morty. For some reason, it just feels more authentic with South Park. It's hard to explain why. Maybe it's because of like the haste manner in which the South Park episodes are made, that there is this charm that comes out of them when Matt, Stone, Trey Parker are just... I mean, they're working very, very hard, but nothing's getting overbaked. They're doing their best, and they're just like making these judgment calls to get these episodes out by Wednesday. Or at least that's what they used to do. I know they're in some big legal battle right now due to the streaming wars and whatnot. But something about Rick and Morty's, again, it just seems like they're either trying too hard, or it's just so meta or out there, or almost like too depressing that it is cool to think about, but there's something, I guess, more relatable to the scenarios that South Park presents when that special little piano score starts playing and there is an intimate moment between two characters. Again, it just feels very authentic. It feels like something that I can identify with. Versus, again, Rick and Morty does have some very, very heavy moments, but they seem more like very niche and very, sometimes more dark and whatnot, and more, I guess, for like edgelordy kind of feels like that. I feels like Rick and Morty is almost sometimes trying to like rehabilitate edgelords or whatnot, where South Park is just trying to tell a fun, funny story. And I think it's because they have... Matt Stone, Trey Parker have that just core belief that they are just trying to, again, tell just really good, really funny stories because that's their intention. That's what they can focus on. Where, again, Family Guy is just trying to do joke after joke after joke, and that's fine. And even some other animated comedies, again, I just don't think are as focused on the story as South Park is. And it's just so funny to think that a silly show like South Park can sometimes be such a torchbearer when it comes to storytelling in animation. But it's not too shocking when you look at Matt Stone, Trey Parker's accomplishments. They've got their Tony from the Book of Mormon. They've definitely got an Emmy from multiple episodes within South Park. They almost won an Oscar for the music in the South Park Bigger, Longer, Uncut, but lost out to Phil Collins. Hence, we got Phil Collins Hill in that one episode of South Park. But going back to the heart of these characters, what Matt Stone and Trey Parker really understand is the relationships that a lot of these characters have built over the years, or even the episode. Just think of the Christmas Critter episode, where, again, the reason that is... Just think of the Christmas Critter episode, where that episode is so memorable because it is this weird pairing of such a sweet, innocent story of lion cubs, of Stan trying to do the right thing, paired up with this satanic critter Christmas blood orgy. But this episode wouldn't be so strong if it didn't have both the yin and the yang, and that's what South Park understands, is you need that episode where Stan gets depressed and thinks he's got Asperger's to keep things interesting. You have to have that episode where the Stotches send Butters down the river because Leanne figures out her husband's secret. Again, such a dark concept with such a sweet character who has such an endearing motive. It just creates just not only great comedy, but engaging stories. I'm not gonna lie, I'm looking at a list from like Screen Rant or something of some sad moments in South Park to jumpstart my memories. And it has some really good stuff, like Stanley Cup episode where that one kid has cancer and he dies at the end. But that's more silly versus when like Wendy gives up for like the body image, and when Kanye West is giving her that speech about the Kardashian who goes from being a little hobbit who can use the internet and filters to just make herself feel pretty and whatnot, and then just at the end, Wendy giving into peer pressure, photoshopping herself anyways, because sometimes you just can't beat society. That it doesn't matter how hard you swim against the current, you're just gonna get swept away. And it's just so sad that so many probably young women have this same reaction to that Wendy's having. I see a little screenshot here with just Wendy having a single little tear. And what's beautiful about South Park is the whole simplicity of all the characters, because they're just these little cardboard cutouts. Maybe one of the things that really sells the emotion of South Park is the simplicity of the characters. I remember reading a book about comic making by, I think, Scott McCloud, I want to say his name is, where he talks about the simpler the character looks, the easier it is to put yourself in the shoes of that character. So with these South Park characters, when they're just circles with eyes and hair, it's really easy just to put yourself in their shoes and to project yourself on them, because they don't have those identifying features that get in the way of the illusion of the self. I'm really sad right now that we haven't had new South Park, I guess in a year. I think this is the longest it's ever been without a new special or any new South Park content since it started. And if Matt Stone and Trey Parker want to be done with it, I understand. I'm glad we have what we have. But I really hope there is some new stuff. I hope they can keep walking that fine line between comedy and heart, because it's something that the adult animated comedy genre desperately needs. This is Media Philosophy, exploring the deeper side of entertainment.